Welcome to the Supervisor Mentor Training Module for the Wake Forest University School of Divinity Ministry Internship Program. My name is John Senior. I am the Assistant Dean of Vocational Formation at the School of Divinity. I direct the School of Divinity's Art of Ministry program, which is part of our vocational formation curriculum. The Art of Ministry program includes the required internship work that students do to complete their Master of Divinity degree. This presentation is a voice thread, which is a narrated slide deck. Each slide should begin playing the audio commentary automatically. If it doesn't, you can use the tools at the bottom of the page to start and stop the presentation and navigate between slides. I first want to welcome all of the veteran and new supervisor mentors who will be working with our students in the summer or academic year internship program. I want to say right off the bat that your work with our students is profoundly important in their process of vocational formation, that is, in their journey of becoming leaders in ministry in whatever context to which they feel called. Your presence, supervision, and mentoring work with our students on a day in and day out basis over the summer or during the academic year are profoundly important to their formation at the School of Divinity. So thank you in advance for the work that you will do. At the end of this training module, participants will be able to do 5 things. First, participants will be able to identify the aims of the ministry internship program at Wake Forest University School of Divinity and the roles and responsibilities of supervisor mentors in the program. Second, they will be able to use the learning plan to create a structure for both the internship placement and the supervision work. Third, they will consider the importance of mentoring in the larger process of professional formation and strategies for the work of mentoring during the summer internship or academic year internship placement. Fourth, they will be able to use strategies to structure the 1-hour mentoring meetings that students and mentors will schedule throughout the internship experience. And finally, participants will learn how to use the internship assessment to measure the students' work on their learning goals as articulated in the learning plan. Let me first say a few things to introduce the Art of Ministry program, as well as the role of the supervisor mentor. A ministry internship placement is a field-based learning experience that allows students to explore 3 main things: the being, the thinking, and the doing of ministry. These 3 categories describe interrelated aspects of vocational formation that students explore in their internship work. I separate these out artificially for the convenience of thinking about them in a straightforward way, but really they're interrelated. We're going to explore each of these in the next few slides. The being of ministry has to do with those issues around a person's professional identity, their pastoral and leadership presence, and their voice and authority in ministry, not in some universal way, but in terms of their unique personality and sense of purpose. The thinking piece concerns the art of theological reflection on ministry experience. Our students learn many ways of thinking theologically at the School of Divinity. They learned about scripture, systematic theology, church history, theological ethics, pastoral care and preaching, and the like. And all of these disciplines are also forms of theological meaning making. The internship experience gives students an opportunity to operationalize all of these approaches to theological reflection that they're learning in our classrooms to interpret and make meaning of real experiences. Not only the experiences that they're having in their internship work, but also the experiences of themselves as emerging ministry leaders. Internship work allows students to learn how to think theologically about experience. That's not always something that is obvious. Like anything else, that is a skill, and like any skill, it needs to be practiced and developed. Finally, the doing piece has to do with the skills and practices of ministry in whatever context in which those skills and practices are relevant. Skills and practices will be somewhat different depending on the context of ministry in which a student is serving. Our students serve in congregations, chaplaincy settings, schools, hospitals, hospice care centers, retirement communities, nonprofit organizations, and in many other spaces, sometimes community activism, sometimes politics and journalism, even agricultural spaces. All of these spaces can be understood as ministry in a broad sense, and they all have particular skills and practices that make them distinctive and unique. Internship placements allow students not only to learn skills and practices, but also to begin to learn their distinctive style and the way that they perform these skills and practices. I have been invoking the idea of ministry, but so far I've not defined it. What is ministry? Of course, there are different ways to define ministry. One definition that I find useful and often share with my students is this one. Ministry is that way of being that holds space for persons and communities to experience and respond to the presence and work of God in the world. Notice how broad that is. It's not just about doing certain kinds of practices in churches and congregations. It's not just about preaching or pastoral care. It's not just about praying for people. All of these are certainly important skills for ministry. But ministry is space holding work that occasions connection with the ultimate conditions of experience. For many communities, that means some understanding of God. For others, it doesn't. But we understand that God's work, as we articulated in the School of Divinity's mission statement, is about the work of justice, reconciliation, and compassion for Christian churches and other ministries. So, ministry can happen in lots of different spaces, even those spaces that are not explicitly theological, those spaces that are not using God talk, for example, in secular nonprofit organizations, but are still participating in the work of justice, reconciliation, and compassion. Another aspect of ministry that we think is important is the idea of calling or vocation. The Latin root of vocation, vocare, is to call. Vocation is a way of understanding work as purposeful. It's not just about getting done a certain number of tasks between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Vocation is about becoming a certain kind of person who defines themselves in relationship to a certain understanding of what's really real and what's ultimately important and valuable. For Christians, the center of value is God. Vocation is not so much about work that belongs to us, it's about participating in God's work. Again, as we understand it at the School of Divinity, the work of justice, reconciliation, and compassion. So, vocation is an invitation wherever people find themselves in different walks of life to discern and respond to God's work of justice, reconciliation, and compassion, to make that a center of value in a way that defines not only what they do every day, but also how they understand themselves and how they see themselves as human beings. Another odd term that we use at the School of Divinity is art of ministry. Art of Ministry is the name of the program that I lead, and it's also the name of one part of the Master of Divinity curriculum in the ministry studies area. So, Art of Ministry names that part of the School of Divinity curriculum that focuses on vocational formation, including supervised ministry internship coursework. Now, hopefully, all of our courses have some focus on vocational formation. But Art of Ministry is that corner of the curriculum and other programming where vocational formation is the central focus of what we're doing, particularly in relationship to on the ground internship coursework, where students have an opportunity to figure out how what they're learning in the classroom really applies to their vocational pathway. Some schools call this contextual education or supervised ministry. The Art of Ministry program is a three-part sequence. I want to name this so that you understand where the internship experience comes into play. The first piece is a one semester classroom based course in the fall of the student's first year called Introduction to the Life and Work of Ministry, MIN 501. That course is a broad overview of the work of ministry. It does not have an internship component, but once students have completed that course, then they complete one 300-hour internship placement either in the summer or during the academic year. Alongside the internship service, students also participate in a course component called the Internship Reflection Seminar. Your students will be enrolled in participating in a course as they do their internship service with you. So the second part then is the actual internship experience. And then in the third year, the third part, students participate in a half semester course called the third year capstone course. The capstone course is an opportunity for students to integrate their learning from the Master of Divinity experience as they revisit fundamental questions about vocational formation and identity, theological voice, and ministry practice. Another focus of the capstone course is professional development. That is to say that it prepares students for the job search in their third year. To call this part of our program Art of Ministry is unusual. I don't know of any other schools that use this term to describe this part of the curriculum. Sometimes I get emails and calls from folks who think that what we're talking about is the part of our program where we do visual or performing art, and that's not quite right. We're using the word art here metaphorically, art as opposed to, say, science. That ministry is not a science, it's an art. To say that ministry is learned through experience, and not only through experience, but through intentional forms of reflection on experience. Aristotle and other ancient thinkers use the term phronesis, practical wisdom, a kind of knowing that arises from experience and the process of reflecting on experience. With practical wisdom, one knows how to do the right thing for the right people at the right time. And it's not the kind of thing you can learn by reading an instruction manual or taking a course. You must throw yourself into the world, into experiences, and hopefully also be in conversation with wise practitioners who have already gone through this process and can offer wise guidance to novices. This is where you come into play. As experienced practitioners, you know a thing or two about the work that you're doing, and you are well positioned to journey with students as they begin to learn not only the ropes of the work, but also who they are and what their own particular purpose, voice, and journey is in the midst of the work. So, mentors are necessary in the process of learning practical wisdom. These folks are the ones who are wise practitioners and who can help those who are just being initiated into the work to learn it and learn who they are in the midst of it. The process of practice and reflection on practice is what we call reflective practice. We invite students to throw themselves into a context of ministry where they practice ministry. Sometimes they've already taken some coursework in that area of ministry practice. Sometimes they have not. But they are engaged in the experience. And then through the course, but also through their relationship with you as the mentor, they have space to reflect on what they're learning and to consider how things have gone well and why, and where students might have opportunities for continued growth. Then students go back into the practice after those reflective moments and practice again, hopefully now with new understanding, new self-awareness, and new orientations to the work that they're doing. So it's a spiral process in the sense that the practice never comes back to the same point that it began before the reflection. Reflection moves practice to a new place, hopefully a point of further growth and development. And then practice happens again. And then more reflection happens, and the action reflection spiral continues. So, reflective practice is the method that we use for our work in the Art of Ministry program, and it functions in a spiral like fashion. This is the end of this introductory section. In the next couple of sections, we're going to talk more about your role as supervisor, your role as mentor, and some of the responsibilities that come along with each of those roles.